every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Omalape in our major story. The House of Representatives passes the long-awaited petroleum industry bill into law. Also in this program, the House of Representatives passed 14 bills that had earlier scaled through in the upper chamber. And President Muhammadu Buhari and his Chadian counterpart, President Idris Deby, set to step up military offensive against Boko Haram through greater cooperation. And outside Nigeria, an explosion at a petrol station in Accra, Ghana's capital earlier today, leaving over 90 people dead. Thank you for joining us tonight. The House of Representatives has passed a long-awaited petroleum industry bill into law on the last day of the Parliament section. The federal lawmakers also approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request for 15 special advisors and adopted 12 reports. Our correspondent, Pius Hammer, has more.
Before the passage of the petroleum industry bill, the House first considered the request of President Muhammadu Buhari to appoint 15 special advisors. But the request did not enjoy easy passage. Leo Oga argued through a point of order that the resolution in the letter is different, and if passed, it will not be the same as what the Senate passed. But the Speaker, Emeka Ihedioha, was quick to call for calm and urged the lawmakers to support the new administration in its quest to function.
Here you have a motion that is totally different from what the Senate has passed. And I think, it's stating very clearly here, the House has stated the remunerations and all other issues, which is totally different from what the Senate has passed. So I foresee a scenario or a situation, because the word in the Constitution is the National Assembly, setting up a conference committee that will address the subject matter of the lacuna that exists between the Senate position and the House of Representatives position. I believe that if we pass this motion, definitely it's going to be different from what the Senate has passed. And I think as a House, it is important that we address the challenges that has raised in respect of what the Senate has passed, Mr. P, what we have.
Our President today labored hard to be President. I think this is the fourth times, and you have to give him the benefits. You have to give him the benefits of coming into a new terrain. And I think we have a duty as a people to support the government to take off. And I would appeal to all of us that we should accommodate these initial mistakes where possible to enable the government take off for the smooth governance of our country.
The members were keen to pass the PIB bill, but before that, the House dissolved into committee of the whole, where the bill was read for the third time. So, as the Speaker puts the PIB bill to voice votes, from one clause to the other, members responded in the affirmative.
Clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Honorable colleagues, those in favor of this motion that the House do accept the report of the Committee of the Whole, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
The PIB is to be passed to the Senate of the 8th Assembly for concurrence. The 7th Senate has been dissolved after senators held a valedictory session earlier in the day. June 6, 2011, the 7th Assembly was inaugurated right here at this complex, and today marks the end of their tenure. Some of them believe that they have done very well, while some felt disappointed. But it's left to Nigerians to judge if the 7th Assembly has actually met their yearnings. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And while the 7th Senate came to a close with a revelation from the leadership that 123 bills were passed in 4 years. This includes the 46 passed in record time on Wednesday. Senate leader Victor Ndumaigba will disclose this in a speech at a valedictory section, adding that a total of 591 bills were considered between June 2011 and June 2015. This section also provided an opportunity for many outgoing senators to set agenda for the 8th Senate.
This is the climax of a session that began on June 5, 2011. It's exactly 4 years since the proclamation of the 7th Senate, so it's time for stock taking. The lot fell on Senate leader Victor Ndumaigba to give an account of the legislative session.
A total of 591 bills were introduced, out of which 123 have been passed and others are at various stages of legislative processing and consideration. Amongst the bills passed are bills that have far-reaching impact on the polity, such as Occupational Safety and Health Bill.
He also delivered what he described as lessons from President Jonathan and PDP's loss at the 2015 election.
A second term for any chief executive is no longer taken for granted. Incumbency has its limitations. Impunity is not sustainable anywhere. Internal party democracy is the only assurance to electoral victory.
Several other senators paid tribute to the leadership of the Senate for stabilizing the policy in the last 4 years. There were also others who preferred to set the agenda for the incoming senators.
And I want to place on record, Mr. President, that the people of Benue are very proud of you, particularly now that you are supporting me for leadership position. Moreover, honestly, I speak as a Christian. I speak as someone who wouldn't want to say a lie, to tell a lie in this hallowed chamber. And when it became appropriate for me and Lawan to team up, you still continue to support that ticket. I want to thank you for that. And the Benue people are also listening and they are watching, and we want you to continue to see that this ticket says true.
One of the reasons, one of the things that will make Nigerians really fully appreciate the hard work we work here is if we take a look at this little red book. It is time to review our little red book. Mr. President, 591 bills. If we were to develop a process by which if a bill goes through third reading and goes to another house and could not complete the process of passage before the expiry of the life of the assembly, we have to evolve a system by which the next assembly carries it on as if it is an unfinished business. That way, the resources, the energy, the hard work that has been used, to produce these bills don't go to waste.
Senate President David Mark wrapped up the session with a summary of the achievements of the 7th Senate.
Let me in all modesty say that the 7th Senate achieved some measures of success in the areas of the number of bills that were passed, motions that were moved in our oversight functions, and in our legislative duties. Some landmark bills passed by this Senate include, but are not limited to, Pension Reform Act, National Health Act, Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, and the Terrorism Prevention Act.
No fewer than 3 former Senate presidents, including Joseph Wayas, and a handful of former senators were on hand to witness the end of a session which many say was quite eventful.
And now, one day after the Senate passed 46 bills, the House of Representatives has reciprocated by passing 14 bills that had earlier scaled through in the upper chamber. This was after Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Sam Sokwa, moved for the suspension of their standing orders of the House, which enabled the passage of 14 bills. But before the passage of the bill, Speaker Emeka Ihedioha urged the committee chairman to explain the basis for the action. He also condemned people who felt that the Senate erred by passing 46 bills in a day. And now President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the House of Representatives requesting the approval for the appointment of 15 special advisors to assist him carried out his constitutional duty. The letter was read at Thursday plenary by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Emeka Ihedioha. It comes one day after the Senate approved a similar request from the President. And now, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has assured the judges and judicial officials and a state of adequate support. This, according to him, is because his administration sees the judiciary as a member of theme that would deliver positive change. He gave this assurance while paying a courtesy call on the Chief Judge.
Finally, sir, we believe the judiciary, perhaps the most independent, the most important arm of government, because unless you settle disputes and put criminals where they belong, no one will be able to. So we have great respect for the judiciary, and I want to you, just as our leader and President General Buhari assured in the briefing, about the extent of prison congestion. We had the unfortunate fire in Zaria prisons last week, which has further exacerbated and put pressure on the prison in Kaduna. I'm happy to note that you've already begun work on prisons decongestion. And I want to pledge the support of our Ministry of Justice and indeed my humble self in working together to ensure that our people are not unduly detained on minor offenses that can be sorted out quickly. So I look forward to giving you all the cooperation to ensure that we reduce the number of awaiting trial inmates in our prisons in Kaduna State.
President Muhammadu Buhari and his Chadian counterpart, President Idris Deby, have agreed to step up military offensive against Boko Haram through greater cooperation. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of Buhari's one-day official visit to Chad, made available to journalists by his spokesman, Garba Shehu. Both leaders agreed on the need to make the multinational Joint Task Force fully operational to effectively combat terrorism in northeast Nigeria and everywhere the insurgents operate. Buhari and Deby also want the international community to provide the Lake Chad Basin Commission and neighboring countries with all necessary support to combat terrorism and insurgency. In addition, the leaders agreed on the need to introduce emergency development initiatives in area where the insurgents group operate. President Muhammadu Buhari also held a closed-door meeting with Major General Chiku Buratai. And now Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, yesterday visited the victims of the fuel tanker accident and sympathized with the government and people of Anambra State over the tragic incident. The Vice President made the visit on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari to Toronto Hospital in Onitsha, where he was received alongside Governor Obiano by the Chief Medical Director, Emeka Eze, who took time to explain how the emergency situation was handled. Ushibaji commended the timely intervention of the state government and various hospitals, especially the Toronto Hospital.
The President's Excellency was very disturbed by it, very, very concerned. He felt that it was not sufficient to issue a statement of condolence, and he felt that I should come. I've been taken round. I have seen the very heroic efforts, especially of the hospital and the doctors who took this upon themselves very quickly and very ably, and of course the state's emergency operations were also very quick to respond.
We have banned trailers and fuel-carrying vehicles to ply only at night. That we believe will minimize any challenges we are going to have.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News live from our Lagos studio. We'll take a break now. I'll be back with more stories after this time out. Join us again.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, will see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on CoreTV News.
You'll be watching CoreTV Primetime News. If you just join us, a quick reminder of our top stories. The House of Representatives passes the long-awaited petroleum industry bill into law. The House of Representatives passed 14 bills that had earlier scaled through in the upper chamber. President Muhammadu Buhari and his Chadian counterpart, President Idris Deby, set to step up military offensive against Boko Haram through greater cooperation. All our top stories can be found on our social media platforms like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. For live streaming, log on to youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave your space, the news. A federal high court in Abuja has fixed June 5 to rule on whether it has jurisdiction to continue to hear the suit seeking to stop 19 all-progressive Congress lawmakers in Ekiti State House of Assembly from launching impeachment proceedings against Governor Ayodele Fauci. When the matter came up for hearing, the plaintiff counsel, Ahmed Raji, sought the leave of the court to transfer the case to the state. But defense counsel Taves Vembe objected, arguing that the court lacks jurisdiction to entertain the suit in the first place. The presiding judge, Justice Eva Chukwu, adjourned till June 5 to deliver ruling on the matter of jurisdiction. But plaintiff counsel Ahmed Raji is convinced that once the present Ekiti House of Assembly winds down, the matter will become an academic. Meanwhile, 19 years after the assassination of the wife of late MK Abiola, the assumed winner of the June 12, 1993 elections, family members, civil society groups, students, and friends demand justice for Kudirat Abiola. Our correspondent Omotaolo has details.
To commemorate another year of Kudirat Abiola's death since June 4, 1996, the gathering at Ikeja home called on the present-day government to uphold justice and ensure that innocent Nigerians don't suffer and die in vain.
I am very upset about the judicial system, but I know that, with life there's still time. And with time, you can always make amends. So I'm hoping that with the new disposition we have now, things will move forward and, you know, the judicial system will not be handicapped.
We ought to have recognized her here on national level. It's a shame that foreigners have to show us what to do. It's high time we do that. And the husband too should be recognized.
What lies here is not just a matter or a sacrifice, but a symbol that should be remembered always and should be emulated.
The civil organization also urged government not to rest until the Chibok girls are rescued, as the nation marks over 400 days of their capture. According to the president of Women Arise, Joe Oke-Odumake, government should intensify its fight against insurgents and also bring the culprits involved in Kudirat Abiola's murder to book.
The inability to bring those who perpetrated this heinous out to book will embolden the perpetrators. 19 years after, the labor of our heroine past must and shall never be in vain.
For the leader of the Oduduwa People's Congress, Gani Adams, the new administration should see to the many challenges in Nigeria as the people have high hopes in the government.
The issue of security is very, very important. It's highly imperative. The government should make sure give the citizen enough security so that you'll be safe in anywhere you are.
The resolve of the gathering was to uphold the values late Kudirat Abiola lived and died for as they prayed for a better and greater Nigeria. Omotayo Alo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Now, two former governors, Babatunde Fashola of Lagos and Rabiu Kwankwaso of Kano, have been honored in recognition of their service while in office. Babcock University at Ilison Remo bestowed the honor on both men while also endorsing them as honorary members of the Alumni Association of the institution. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arache, has promised to flush out bad elements from the police force. He made this pledge shortly after decorating 40 newly promoted senior police officers in Abuja. A correspondent, Pius Sanya, has details.
A day after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari alongside other security chiefs, the Inspector General has again warned senior officers against indulging in acts of corruption. Arase maintained that the only way to ensure adequate policing across the country is to be clear of acts capable of bringing disrepute to the force. He reaffirmed his readiness to flush out bad elements in the police and charged the promoted officers to take the welfare of officers and men under their command seriously.
There is a new paradigm shift in policing in this country, and I'm sure you'll be following the policy thrust of this administration: zero tolerance for corruption, intelligence-led policing, and, restorative justice. So we expect that wherever you are posted to eventually, you will be able to help us operationalize this policy thrust of this administration.
Responding on behalf of the decorated officers, Helsinda Musa thanked the IG for counting them worthy of honor. They also promised to work in line with the objectives of the police management team.
On behalf of the promotees, I want to sincerely and say thank you and for finding us worthy to be promoted. Yeah. This munificent gesture that has obtained this delegation is heartwarming, it's motivational, it's inspiring, it's encouraging, and of course, spurring.
The Inspector General of Police also commissioned a new press center at the force headquarters. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The strike embarked upon by workers at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba has continued with patients bearing the brunt. Our correspondent, Eboloma Dekule, visited the hospital and filed in this report.
A shadow of itself is the expression that best describes the situation of things at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, as the usual hustle and bustle that characterize day-to-day activities at the hospital were absent. While the unions, National Association of Nurses and Midwives of Nigeria and Nigeria Union of Allied Health Professionals have embarked on a nationwide strike, the Yaba chapter seemed to have more grievances with the hospital's management aside that listed by the national body.
What led to this indefinite strike can be dated back to 2011.
2011, people were promoted. Their promotion areas were paid. But those that were skipped from 9 to 11, their areas were not paid. There were a series of letters, but the management said, the ministers had said, the civil service rule said they should not skip. And there was no documentation to that effect. There were a series of meetings here and there until Joesu National went to the court and won the case, that the court ruled that they should skip, that is on the civil service rule for civil servant to skip from 9 to 11. Then after that, our salary payments, that's the payment of our salary, became epileptic. Before now, we used to collect our salary between 22nd of every month and 26th of every month. But now, we don't receive our salary until maybe middle of the next month.
Now, let me give you a picture of what it is like. Light in the hospital is rationed. You know, I don't know what has been happening, but at night, there is no light to care for psychiatric patients in a psychiatric hospital. Do you understand me? And then the worst they can tell is, can you get a torchlight? So I ask you, when a psychiatric patient is in emergency state, how do you attend to that person with a torchlight? That's the scenario, really. You know, patients are now paying more to get drugs, where you expect that these things should be subsidized.
Dr. Ari Lawal, which is our medical director, is supposed to leave. His tenure is supposed to lapse this year, and the whole staff does not want his tenure to be elongated beyond this year. So it's against the Constitution. The Constitution has stipulated that if you're 60, you cannot, that is, you retire from service. You understand? Which even down the ladder, everybody at the end of affair, the head of service, when you are 60, you have to go.
And just like the African adage that says, given a hoe, a person would harvest to his side, the medical director, Abolore Lawal, exonerated himself of all the allegations leveled against him.
When I explained to them, they said, I claim that I'm not owing them money, that I say it's Abuja that is owing them. That's one of my offenses. But I really don't see the difference between me telling them that, well, this money is not in the hospital. The money is in Abuja. It's Abuja that will pay you. But they claim that I was kind of denying that we are not owing them, which is not true. The other part of it is that government started putting the hospitals on IPs. You know IPs? IPs is this, it's this integrated payment system that, first of all, they come to do biometrics of all the staff in the hospital, and they computerize all of us, and then our salaries start coming from Abuja. The same number of hours that we have electricity since the 1980s is the same number of hours we have electricity. Okay? What happens is that we need to improve, okay? And we have made efforts to improve on what we are doing by trying to get inverters into the wards. We tried, we put inverters in wards, in some of our wards. No sooner you put inverters, in a couple of months, it's gone bad. If you know that you are going to be 60 years before the end of your appointment, I want to remain as medical director of that hospital after the age of 60. The circular says that you should resign your appointment as a consultant in that hospital, which is actually what is happening now. I resigned my position as a consultant psychiatrist in this hospital when I was appointed, submitted it and did the right thing to do. So when I was 60 in January, I'm free to continue until I end my tenure. It's a tenure appointment, which ends in August.
But the question is, when will the strike end?
As I'm talking with you, it's not in view, because it's an indefinite strike, and we don't know what until our demand.
Ebuloma Adekunle, CoreTV News, Lagos.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. After the break, we'll bring you stories in sport and outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
As news breaks, people don't let events pass without giving their comment or reactions.
When the problem arises in society, these are the people that will be consulted.
To cleanse the corruption in society, we are not to provide information for good life and also security of life and property in this country.
The academic society have the loudest voice on this platform.
Whether you call it a sovereign national conference or a national conference, it is about the people of Nigeria.
There should be a change in power. In any way they can do it.
I think there's a script already.
Every Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. on this station. From the Ivory Tower, a must-watch for the learning minds.
In sports tonight, 7 foreign-based professionals have joined the national team camp ahead of next week's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Lesotho. The Super Eagles camp in Abuja is gradually bubbling to life as invited foreign-based professionals trickled in first to arrive. The base of the national team was England-based forward Odion Igalo. Also in camp are Ogeni Onazi, John Ogu, Babatunde Michael, Stephen Uko, Anderson Esiti, and William Chus Ekong. According to Kechi, all the foreign-based players to be in camp or before midnight on the West Stage June 3rd, except Aaron Samuel, who was granted permission by the big boss. Nigeria will take on the charge at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna on June 13 as the race for Gabon 2017 begins across Africa. Belgium have jumped above Argentina into second place in the latest edition of FIFA's World Ranking, their highest ever position. The Belgian national side did not play during the most recent rankings window, but went second behind Germany due to the devaluation of past results. Belgium visit France would jump 2 places to 9th for a friendly on Sunday before visiting Wales for an important Euro 2016 qualifier next Friday. The two sides are currently tied on 11 points at the top of Group B, with Belgium edging ahead on goal difference. And now Lucy Safarova fought back to beat Serbia's Ana Ivanovic and become the first Czech woman to reach the French Open final in 34 years. The 13-seed trailed 5-2 in the first set, but reeled off 5 straight games on her way to a 7-5, 7-5 win. She goes on to face world number 1 Serena Williams on 23rd set time Helsinki in Saturday's final. Safarova made the Wimbledon semi-final last year, but is through to her first Grand Slam final. The 20-year-old will try to match the achievement of her compatriot Hana Mandlikova, who won the title in 1981. Serena Williams reaches the final of the French Open after a fight to beat the Helsinkis and reach the French Open final despite struggling with illness. The top seed took 100 games, or 10 games rather, in a row to win 4-6, 6-3, 6-0 and set up a final against Lucy Sarafova on Saturday. Williams, of 33, has been unwell throughout the tournament and struggled as temperatures soared in Paris. The American world number 1 is trying to win her 3rd French Open and 20th Grand Slam singles title. And outside Nigeria now, Egypt's Court of Cassation has ordered that former President Hosni Mubarak be retried over the killings of protesters in 2011. The judge accepted the public prosecution's appeal against an earlier court ruling that dropped the case against Mubarak last year. He said that the issue is still on. An explosion at a petrol station in Accra, Ghana's capital, earlier today has killed at least 90 people. The incident was caused by a fire at a nearby lorry terminal. Flames spread to the state-run oil petrol station through spewed fuel floating on the flood water, killing many who had sought shelter from the storm at the fuel station. Many were burned while some were trapped in the charred wreckage of cars and minivans parked. Eyewitnesses say the force of the blast gave only few people the chance to escape. The incident has been described as the West African nation's worst disaster in more than a decade. And in entertainment now, popular Nigerian artist Femi Adeyinka, aka Capital Femi, has announced that he is quitting Kenny's Music after his recording contract with the entertainment company expired. Femi, the younger brother of his comedian Gbenga Adeyinka, has the option of renewing his contract with Kenny's Music, but decided to move on following some irregularities and shady circumstances that saddled his relationship with the label. As part of his new moves, Femi is putting finishing touches to a new single scheduled for release this month. However, despite this, Femi said he is grateful to the label for the huge support given to his career. And now Sam Smith has announced he can't speak again after he underwent a vocal surgery because a minor hemorrhage was found on his vocal cord. He was forced to cancel his Australian tour due to the health problem. The 23-year-old underwent vocal cord microsurgery by Dr. Stephen Zettel to stop recurrent vocal cord bleeding. This condition is the result of unstable blood vessels in the vocal cord that can't rupture and prevent vocal performance. Following the operation, Smith was banned from speaking for 3 weeks and was not allowed to sing for 3 to 5 more weeks. He recently announced 5 rescheduled dates for his Australian tour via Facebook. And Walt Disney planning a remake of their 1992 comedy hit Sister Act. The original movie starred Whoopi Goldberg as Dolores, a Reno lounge singer who disguised himself as a nun after her movie star Bill committed a murder. It spawned both a 1993 sequel, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, and a Tony Award-winning musical that premiered in 2006. So it is still unclear if Goldberg will return for the third movie. The 1992 film from Disney's Touchstone Pictures also starred Maggie Smith, which earned $232 million worldwide and grossed close to $140 million domestically. You have been watching CoreTV Primetime News, but just before we go tonight, here is a recap of our major headline. We also brought to you that the House of Representatives passed 14 bills that had the earliest scale through in the upper chamber. President Muhammadu Buhari and his Chadian counterpart, President Idris Deby, set to step up military offensive against Boko Haram through greater cooperation. Well, and that's it tonight. Many thanks for watching. On behalf of the entire news school, I am Frank Omalape. Have a splendid night rest.